Jeez. Okay, Eeyore.
Hello and welcome to episode number 20, the big 2-0 of Unrelenting for Friday, March 25th, 2022. I am Darren O'Neill. I am coming to you live from a bunker deep in the heart of Middle America, just outside of Chirac, where the weather is cooling down again. But, you know, the politics is always hot, Gene.
Is it now?
Well, by our standards.
Is that keeping you warm at night?
No, you actually have a electric blankets for that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Who the hell's Eeyore?
Eeyore, the guy from Winnie the Pooh. Little JCD drop there. John C. Dvorak.
I was trying to remember who that was.
Obviously, you have no children, because then you would know all about Winnie the Pooh.
Well, I know who Winnie the Pooh is. He runs China.
Right. Well, so Eeyore's like his right-hand man, so must also be evil.
I see.
Would be my guess.
He's not so much evil as he was just drawn that way.
Ooh, nice. Nice comment from the early morning Gene. It seems like you're just waking up. Did you just roll out of bed?
Yeah, I just woke up. For Christ's sakes, it's just early in the morning right now.
9 a.m. Thanks to all the early morning trolls for joining us at noagendastream.com. They're up early.
Yeah, they are. What are they? Are they all out of work or what?
Some are at work. Some are over in Europe, so it's kind of late there.
All right. Yes. Well, it's 6-7 hours later.
It's a beautiful thing. You got to get your energy up. Have that lemon, Gene. Get the full lemon. You throw it in the blender.
I do the lemons in the evening.
Oh, really?
Are you still doing the lemons?
Yeah, I like them earlier in the day.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And I've made it into the daily ritual of when I go and hop on the bike and turn something on the YouTube and watch it. I have a frozen lemon drink. And I've made it into a frozen thing. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you do that, but I take the one lemon, throw it in the Vitamix, man, and it's amazing. It only
goes fast.
Yeah, it's like 10 seconds and it's liquid.
Yep.
And I throw in some almond milk to help it blend nice. And I've been experimenting. You don't really need a lot of or any sweetener, I don't think. But you can throw in a pack of one of the artificial sweeteners if you really need it. And I throw in some ice, so it comes out
probably
kind of...
throw in sugar, too, if you're not a fat dude like us.
Right. You're right. If you don't mind the extra added calories,
yeah,
you could throw in sugar. And, I mean, the interesting thing to me was that although they were smaller lemons, we bought organic ones the second time around, and way less bitter, but I think it was because they were smaller, and thus the amount of rind was... greatly decreased. And I'm like, well, I don't know if that's good or not. I'm trying to figure out where's the good stuff.
Right. It's definitely in the rind. But I think that has more to do with the age of the lemon than whether or not it's going to be organic.
That would make sense.
Now, you are washing these things before you eat them, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I could nuke them, I would.
They have wax on the outside.
Yeah. I take a little bit of Dawn dishwashing liquid, which is absolutely fabulous. And then just rub the outside of the lemons and then rinse them off. And that seems to work quite well. Or you can use vinegar as well. I've tried that.
Yeah, I don't use anything but water, but I use one of those scrub pads.
Like a scrub daddy? You're out there with the little smiley face?
The kind you wash dishes with.
Well, I hope it's not the same ones you're washing the dishes with.
Yeah. Well, what's the difference?
The bacteria builds up. Do you not see what
lives on
your kitchen sponge?
In there. There's no bacteria there.
Use a Brillo pad. Says Billy Bones.
That's what I'm talking about, literally.
Well, not exactly Brillo, but okay, you're...
I think it is actually a Brillo brand.
Really? Like a wool, kind of a steel wool kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Interesting.
What are you talking about?
I'm just talking about using my hands in some mild dish soap.
Yeah, what, you don't think there's bacteria in your hands? Come on.
Not when you wash it with soap.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
But soap's supposed to kill bacteria. Okay.
I need to add... Well, Gene, we've learned... Normal little piddly soap will kill COVID-19. So what won't it kill?
Or maybe the question is, what won't kill COVID-19?
That's maybe true, too.
That's a better question.
That's right.
But either way, if you just use a pad that has some abrasion on it, it will scrub off the wax off the outside of the lemon. Otherwise, you're going to end up eating all that wax that has the built-in bacteria in it.
You don't want that. But I was surprised, as I told you before, that it is not a bad tasting concoction. So this is.
I was also surprised when I tried it, and when I told you about it, you sounded like you were not
dubious
into it, and then I was surprised that you tried it. In fact, lots of surprising going on.
Yeah. And it was like, wow, this isn't bad. It's not even like you have to load it up, as I said, with the sweeteners or anything. Just on its own, It's not something that you're like, oh, wow, this is horrible. Because you would think it would be. Because if you were to just take a lemon and eat lemon slices, it would be very obviously bitter. This less so when you mix it all in together. The almond milk helps too, I think, to temper everything down.
Yeah, I don't use that. I just put a little water in there, and the lemon's coming from the refrigerator. I think it might be fun to try putting the lemon in the freezer and then seeing if that comes out better.
To see how that freezing works. Yeah, because I wasn't even sure at first if you were supposed to put lemons in the fridge. That was a question. Because I'm like, well,
I think they taste better that way.
See, this is the interesting thing about cooling something down, especially liquids. And people that drink whiskey know this, which is if you have a really strong whiskey, like a bourbon that's, way over the normal proof, that icing it down, not even just the fact that it's going to dilute because the ice cube's going to melt, but just making the liquid colder makes it so the taste becomes tamped down. It's not as strong. So a lemon that's at room temperature or warm is going to taste more sour than one that's cold. That would just seem to make scientific sense here.
Maybe. I think that may be worth a test.
So now if freezing it would be interesting.
Yeah, but generally when things are below room temperature, your taste buds are not as sensitive to taste, but your I guess thermal sensors in your mouth
it's magically
are
delicious.
Feeling the coolness. Yeah. So really cooling something down a lot will somewhat make the taste of it irrelevant because you're not going to be able to tell nearly as much of the taste. That is true. But I have to also bring up one other story about cooling where you're saying, well, it's getting diluted because the ice is melting. It all depends what kind of ice you're using, because I remember back in the old days, we actually used to use frozen carbon dioxide.
Now that's a pro move.
Yeah, because it doesn't dilute your drink. In fact, what it does is it freezes the water out of your drink, increasing the alcohol levels.
Now, how do you freeze carbon dioxide?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head how you freeze carbon dioxide. I'm sure it's a mechanical process. I don't think it's a chemical one. But actually, I do know how you freeze carbon dioxide. You use liquid nitrogen. That's what it is. Which
everybody has laying around. You can pick it up in your frozen food section. I'm not saying
you make it at home. I mean, most people can just buy frozen carbon dioxide. It's available in your friendly neighborhood frozen carbon dioxide shop.
It is a pro tip. And like I said, this is very much like the Italian ice lemon kind of a thing. And for me, I find that when you're sitting there and you're exercising, it's nice to have a frozen beverage to sip on.
How much ice do you put in there?
It equals about the size of the lemon. So
the lemon, okay.
Yeah. Enough so that the blender doesn't like start chunking and stopping because
it's stopping. Yeah.
That would be bad.
And then how much of the fake milk?
It's not a lot, just enough to get it started.
Okay. Because I think I probably put about a lemon's worth of water, distilled water in there, and then just a lemon, cold lemon.
If I were to guess, I would say probably about
artificial sweetener.
Probably about half the lemon I'm putting in the almond milk.
And the almond milk, yeah.
And then the ice. So when it all comes down to it, you're probably taking about a third. When it comes down to it, the lemon is like 1/3 of what you're getting when you drink it.
I've not tried putting milk in because my assumption was that the the acid from the lemon would sour the milk.
Well, almond milk it may be a little different.
Well, yeah, because it's not milk.
Right.
It's just almond fat. I don't know why they don't just call it almond fat.
Did you ever make almond milk?
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's easier if you have a good juicer.
Yes. Well, that will. The other way. I remember getting one of those for free Amazon review a nut bag, which sounded really funny. I'm going to review a nut bag. And it was basically
there's a joke in there somewhere.
Yes. It's basically glorified cheesecloth that you use to strain out. It's like, okay, so you take the almonds and you put them in water overnight, or maybe it was a couple of days, I forget. Then you blend them, and then you like squeeze, you run that through the filter, and then you like squeeze the leavings to get every last bit of the juice out of the almond.
That sounds like way more work than just going to the grocery store.
Right. Oh, it is, especially when you look at the gallon or whatever the size is of the almond milk's like $2. It's like, yeah, not worth it.
No. Are you kidding? A quart is like $3.50.
You live in the wrong place, man.
I don't know where the hell you're shopping, dude, but your prices are back from the 80s. I swear to God.
I
just bought a filet mignon the other day. $39 a pound.
Dude, you are getting screwed, man.
This is normal American pricing. You are clearly shopping in a different century.
Yes, maybe, and I'm happy because the food prices are going up. Joe Biden says, expect a real food shortage coming.
Oh, yeah.
What does that even mean?
I mean, at least it's probably one of the first honest things he said.
It's like, what are you saying? Again, because of Russia. I mean, we should maybe talk
blame
about Ukraine.
Russia.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the Ukraine invasion is what is going to make the food supplies dry up.
Yes, because Ukraine was providing all the food for the United States and Europe.
I didn't know that. Is this down on paper somewhere? Is there proof of this?
Well, they wrote it yesterday, but sure, why not?
I mean, Ukraine, we've always heard the breadbasket of the world, Ukraine. I mean,
that's right.
Who doesn't know that?
Well, of Russia anyway, but yeah.
Biden's approval, 34%. No correlation, I'm thinking, between all this stuff. Just random.
Oh, it's up.
Yeah.
Wow.
34%.
I think it was down to 28.
A real food shortage.
Well, see, he's getting a war bump as well then, from 28 up to 35.
It may be. Anybody that's been going to the grocery stores, it's really interesting because during Trump, even though we had COVID, and so there were a lot of things going on, different meat packing plants and stuff shutting down. Overall, the amount of items at the grocery stores, while there were runs on paper products, which still I can't wrap my head around, all the toilet paper and stuff like that, and the cleaning supplies, the food itself, you had no issues with. It wasn't until Biden came into office now that it's amazing how many of the items, when you're doing your normal week-to-week grocery shopping, that just randomly aren't there.
Right.
So if you're saying, okay, what we have now, which seems like an inconvenience now, which is that's all it is, because nobody is starving because the particular brand of broccoli isn't in the grocer's freezer. When Joe Biden says expect real food shortages, does that mean there's going to be nothing in the grocery store freezers? It's going
to have real food shortages. So I'm telling you, the U.S. and Russia have swapped places. We're going to end up effectively having the same thing that we had in the USSR in the 70s. Lines outside the grocery store where people are lined up to buy whatever's available. Because if you start getting too picky, you may not get anything at all. So you're going to go to the grocery store to buy food. Doesn't really matter what kind of food. Could be mac and cheese one day.
Well, you might not even get a choice.
The next day. Well, you get a choice of either buying it or leaving.
Right. It's like
there's always a choice.
But I'm saying you get to the grocery store, you don't walk the aisles anymore. They just hand you a bag and say, here's what you owe.
They're pre-filled bags and they're, $150 probably.
What
I
is...
did. In fact, I had... Now, let me tell you, this is interesting, I think. I have adopted the system of measuring the cost of food by the price of bags. Now, some of my friends think this is not a particularly scientific system, but screw them.
What kind of bags?
Grocery bags. So for the last 30 years or so, whenever I've gone to the grocery store, I kind of notate how much the price per bag was. And the price per bag, I mean, I remember when it was probably about $12 a bag, but for a good chunk of time, it was probably more like $25 a bag. 2 days ago, came out of Whole Foods. It was $130 a bag.
What was this where you bought the $50 per ounce filet mignon?
Yeah, correct.
So there you go.
Well, that's how much they cost in normal stores. I'm sorry.
Perhaps. Now, my question is, do you know what the current grocery store situation is in most of Russia? Are they dealing with the same things we are here?
No. They have much better availability.
Oh, see, that says a lot to me.
Yeah, but prices are up. I will say that. So there are 2 videos that I've watched that are making the rounds. I think I've posted both of them to No Agenda Social. There's a couple outside of Moscow, and then there's another couple that is more like, I mean, I don't know, in the country, like farmland type places.
Right, not city.
And the first comment people have, and I think Adam said it too, is holy shit, that's a nice grocery store. Because the grocery stores are like Costco size, but not a warehouse, but like a, normal grocery stores with shelves, but pretty damn big. In the Moscow video, the other one was a little bit smaller, but the shelves are pretty damn full of stuff. There isn't really a shortage of anything. I don't think that they saw particularly. There may be a brand or two that are that have fewer boxes sitting there, but there's nothing that was completely sold out. But the prices on some items, I know one of the women was talking about I guess it's powdered milk. It's baby formula. She's buying baby formula, and she said the price has gone up by about 40% on baby formula.
So prices are going up, but they aren't out of things.
No, because unlike the U.S., Russia actually produces most of its own food, and that's to some extent the result of the sanctions that have been imposed over the last 8 years by the U.S. and Europe. Well, I mean, remember, this is the latest round of sanctions. These are not like for the first time ever we're going to sanction Russia.
Well, it seems that they are doing something that all countries should do, and that is be self-sufficient.
You would think that would be a good thing, but most countries are led by globalists.
Well, that's true. We want the one world order, so they're trying to make the puzzle only fit together if you have everybody cooperating.
Yeah.
And when somebody doesn't cooperate, then you have a problem.
You've reminded me, I need to shop for food while we're making the podcast here.
That's a good idea. But I mean, people in the troll room are complaining that Whole Foods is not a normal grocery store.
Well, what's a normal grocery store then?
Like a Kroger or a Piggly Wiggly, something like that, Gene.
We don't have Piggly Wigglies.
Well, it's Austin. I forgot. You guys are a little woke down there. Although the NASCAR crowd's coming to Austin.
We have a Whole Foods every 10 feet, though.
Right. See, there you go.
Uh-huh.
So the NASCAR folks that are down there for the race this weekend will be happy.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So we have lean grass-fed Angus ground beef for $8.24 for hamburger.
$8.24 a pound for ground beef.
Yeah,
but it's Angus.
Eggs, cage free, of course. $5.82 a dozen.
Dude, I pay like $3.89 for 2 dozen.
Well, I don't know where you shop. You probably go to Canada or something, and you're using Canadian money.
I would if I could.
Pint of raspberries, $7.69.
This is what they charge in Austin at the Whole Foods.
This is what I'm ordering right now. Yes.
This is a cry for much higher donations. Gene is going to starve.
This is the cost of living, guys. I don't know what you're complaining. Now, bananas are up, but they're still damn cheap at 16 cents per banana. I honestly don't understand how they can be so cheap. Lemons, $1.09 a piece, or some more lemons.
You got to have the lemons.
We could keep talking about, cucumbers are cheap. I'll get one of those. I got plenty of onions. So prime beef ribeye steak, boneless, $30 per pound.
It seems like a lot.
It feels like normal pricing.
For Austin, maybe. For Whole Foods, maybe. Find a nice meat supplier. Why don't you go to your local rancher?
Oh, they're more expensive
than Whole Foods?
Oh, yeah. No, the local, if you go to the farmer's market, which there is one on every corner in Austin, the price of most food at a farmer's market is about 1.5 times of what it is in the Whole Foods.
That is crazy.
Well, because you're getting, premium straight from farm to market, and people will pay a lot more for that.
For USDA Prime at the meat place that we buy from, a 5-pound Chateaubriand beef tenderloin is $145 for 5 pounds.
So what is that, like $20 a pound?
That would equal $29 a pound.
29. Well, okay, so 30. That's not that far off from.
It's in 49. The ballpark, but that's for the prime. Now it depends if you're going for the, instead of USDA Prime, if you drop down to Choice or any of that.
You wouldn't want to do that.
No, because the Choice, you drop down to $95 for 5 pounds.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Gene will tell you the difference between Choice meat and Prime meat.
Yeah. Do you like to have a bunch of grizzle in your meat?
Well, it depends. If it's barbecue, then you want a little.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to grind it up, maybe it doesn't matter.
If you're going to slow cook
here's something I enjoy, but it's going more expensive, is ground bison meat at $13 a pound.
Ground bison is good. We have gotten that at Costco in the past.
Yeah, what's their price?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
I do like the ground bison. I prefer it over the ground hamburger.
Ground beef hamburger is not really ham. That's a pro tip for everybody on the
really?
podcast.
Oh, yeah. Damn. Okay, here's another thing. This is definitely up. Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream for a pint, $6.
I love that is your barometer that you definitely know is up. I
know, because that's the only ice cream that I buy ever is Haagen-Dazs coffee.
That's the only flavor even?
It's the only flavor I ever buy, yeah. It's the most natural ice cream that Haagen-Dazs makes. It only has 5 ingredients.
Nice.
Most other ice creams have a bunch of other crap all in them.
The only regular ice cream we've had in like the last year or two was the Jenny's double chocolate. And that was just because I saw Nancy Pelosi had a fridge of it. And I wanted to see if it was really that good. It was, but it was very expensive, like $7 or $8 a pint, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy pricing.
Yeah, I like the Rebel ice cream, although that's a keto ice cream and it's a different texture. But if you're on keto,
it doesn't have milk in it, probably.
It's whatever they do, it's magic.
It's probably sherbet.
It is the Rebel birthday cake ice cream. Definitely good stuff.
Land O'Lakes sweet cream butter.
I only buy Irish butter.
$4.72 a pound. Used to be $2.
Well, they had to take the girl off the picture, so
that's probably why. It used to be more affordable with the girl on the picture. Why would you not want an attractive Native American girl on the picture of a box? That to me seems like going in the wrong direction.
The fact that they left the rest of the box the same, it was just like taking her off the image. It's like,
they did the same thing they've always done to Native Americans. They just stole their land and got rid of the people.
Right. Cancel them. Well, that was somebody pointed that out. There's memes going around.
There are memes going around, but they left all the pictures of the forest and the water. They stole the land and then just got rid of the Indian.
You can still get your white guy on your Quaker Oats. You can still get, white people are still everywhere on packages, but you can't have black people on packages because it was racist.
Yeah. It's so damn ironic, man.
It is.
The racism of these people that are removing.
What are you canceling?
Diversity.
I mean, right.
They're removing diversity from packaging.
Yes. It can only be white people on packaging.
Blueberries, $8.79 a pound.
I don't know. That seems high.
Miniature watermelon, $10.
Doesn't sound miniature to me.
It's pretty small. I ordered one last time.
But this is the insanity here. This really is.
Distilled water is now $2. Used to be $1.
That's about what it is here. The distilled water.
Yeah.
I use it for cleaning my vinyl records.
Yeah, I use it for drinking.
Distilled water, that stuff will kill you.
That's all I've been drinking for the last 35 years.
Well, see, that explains it. You need some of those hard minerals, Gene.
Mm-hmm.
Get some hard minerals into your system. Stat.
Kiwis are super cheap. Kiwis are 65 cents a piece. I wonder why.
You really did go off to start ordering groceries, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing it right now. This is a good use of my time right now.
As we talked about how you have nothing that is gone from the Russian shelves. You're not running into anything here. Maybe Whole Foods in your area because they charge so much.
This is not Whole Foods. I'm ordering at Randall's, which is a Kroger's brand, I believe.
Oh, well, see, that's a normal store.
Yeah, that's why these is normal pricing. This is why I'm telling you. You're giving me made up Canadian prices out there.
Get out of Austin, Gene.
Mm-hmm. I've been planning on doing that for a long time.
You're making the escape?
Haven't gotten around to it.
Why not?
Yeah, I've been looking at property in San Antonio.
Nice.
Which also has been going up in price, but it's historically cheaper than Austin.
Let's see what our price on your coffee ice cream is. Which one? It was Haagen-Dazs?
Haagen-Dazs, 14 ounces coffee.
Yeah, we have that at our Meijer. What are you paying?
$6, $6.04.
$3.50 here, Gene.
See, that's why I seem to recall being the case years and years ago back when prices were not influenced by Vladimir Putin.
It's all Putin's fault.
Wow, whose fault would it be?
$3.50. See,
surely not all the California liberals that have moved to Austin, not their fault.
Well, see, this worries me because I'm seeing a lot of stories about how much of the exodus is happening from the liberal states. And it's
all over the place, yeah.
It's like, but yes, it depends who's leaving. Now, if it's the conservative people from those states that are leaving, great. The country will be in better shape because the areas they're moving to will be even further conservative strongholds. But if it's the asshole liberals that are moving out of those states to more conservative states, they're going to fuck them up.
Yep. Yes, they are. Indeed.
But I'm just happy that my ice cream bill would be half of what yours is. So, I mean,
your ice cream bill would be half of mine. That is pretty funny, actually.
It's just a strange thing for the exact same product. See, it's like a lot of things. You're like, well, is it locally sourced?
You know why? Probably because the ice cream melts faster in the South.
That's true. You need better refrigerators.
Yeah. So I'm paying for the electricity that you're not paying for.
Austin's like, we have to run these babies hard.
We have to refrigerate in the winter.
It is. It's true. Those poor people in Florida, you paying like $14 a pint for little Haagen-Dazs? If you have those freezers, so load them up. Yeah, load them up.
I know whenever I've been in Miami Beach and stopped by a ice cream shop, it is about $14.
Well, now you could just bring your gun and rob the place because Miami's under a bit of a problem right now. Turns out criminals go on spring break too.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they're doing the whole where you have to be in the house. Behavior. Yeah, well, you have to be. There's a curfew at like midnight or something now in Miami. So that's maybe it was 11. Yeah.
Wasn't there a TV show about the criminals in Miami?
Yeah, it was Miami. They had a Vice or something squad.
Or something like that. Yeah, I just remember that back in the day, we took all our clothing choices from that show.
I thought you still do.
No, I don't wear white pants.
That would be gauche at this time of the year, but
I just wear, training suit.
I thought you just wore like an Adidas top and maybe some like bright orange shorts or something.
No, bright orange shorts. No, I wear the full Adidas trainers.
Well, it is. It's the choice of your people.
Well, it's just comfortable. It's totally random. I don't do it because of anything. It just happens to be comfortable clothing.
We did see Biden say more sanctions. At the same time, he admitted sanctions don't work.
Don't work. Correct.
I mean, this really is living in bizarro world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When the president of the United States will stand up and say, well, because of what Russia is doing to Ukraine, we're putting more sanctions on them, but we don't really expect it to do anything.
Won't actually work.
Right.
Yeah, we're just doing it just to be dicks. Not really because it'll have any impact at all.
And I'm really tired of these stories, including that's been the mantra of the guy like Bill O'Reilly, that this is one guy, just one guy, Vladimir Putin, doing all this. It's like, no, it's really not just one guy. I mean, he's the leader of the country, but this is not the concept, as we've talked about. The average Russian seems to be behind what's going on, or am I misreading that?
Yeah, there's certainly some people that are not happy, but most of them have left the country. So, I don't know.
But there are people that feel like, well, you just need to put the sanctions on to make the regular people so mad they overthrow Putin. And it's like, but they're self-sufficient. They're not. Yeah, they don't have food shortages.
No, they're. We could talk about that too as I finish shopping here. But
I'll make sure you get some healthy choices in there, Gene.
Healthy choice. And that's not a particularly good for you food, you know.
Well, no, not the actual healthy choice. I'm just saying make some healthy food choices.
Okay. Loaded baked potato soup with bacon.
Oh my God. So good, but so bad for you.
Not a bad price. $10 for 32 ounces. So what is that? Like 4 portions? That's pretty cheap. I'm buying that. Why
don't you just wrap some bacon around the Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream and go to town?
That's usually what I do. Hot mac and cheese for $39 a pound.
Wait, so
there's your affordable food.
Do you like fry up a little bacon bowl and then put the ice cream into the bacon bowl and then just eat the whole thing?
Did I ever show you a picture of the bacon pie that I made?
I don't think so. What is a?
I'll have to post that on Nudge and the Social.
What is a bacon pie? Define this.
I made a homemade apple cinnamon pie.
Okay, that I understand.
Yeah, very, very tasty, normal. But I made the top of the pie lettuce. You know, the shape.
It's a lattice.
Of overlapping dough.
Yes.
I made that out of bacon instead.
Oh, well, as one would want to do.
As just one solid fried in and formed piece of bacon lettuce.
So instead of dough on the top.
Instead of dough, it was bacon.
Bacon dough then. So I mean you're just
and then sprinkled some powdered sugar on top. It was so good, and had that with a little bourbon ice cream. Oh my God.
Well, of course you have to have that a la mode. I mean, otherwise it just wouldn't make sense. Did you put a little extra whipped cream on too?
No, you don't need the whipped cream. It's the best combination. Oh, and a sprig of mint just to add a little greenery to it. It is bacon makes things better.
I mean, I agree with that. I just think it's funny that there is that level then where now the whipped cream that's overkill.
No, it's total overkill. Yeah.
The 14 pounds of bacon.
I'm not crazy, man. Come on.
The pie and ice cream. That's perfectly normal.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to worry about here. I see why you have all that hospital gear at the house. You're just preparing for the inevitable.
You remember that Saturday Night Live skit?
With all the Chicago guys?
The Bears, and
you pounding on their, yep.
Yeah. I mean, you just kind of get used to having heart attacks on a regular basis for a while.
Well, I mean, hey, it makes your heart stronger, right?
That's what they say.
We do not give medical advice.
Nobody says that.
Do not take medical advice from podcasters, even if they're wearing scrubs.
Not any podcasters. Not us, but not like any podcasters don't take medical advice from.
No.
Especially not the podcasters that have TV shows on mainstream media.
Oh, right. Then you really don't want to believe them.
No, they will lead you astray. If there's anybody that you want to believe, that's Joe Rogan.
Joe does have some interesting guests. I'm surprised he hasn't been fully canceled yet. He has been out of the news for a while, though. I guess he's been avoiding the
Ukraine thing.
Yeah, he's been avoiding the third rail, I guess. I mean, I don't watch Joe Rogan.
Happily taking a break from being the focus of all the news lately.
Yeah, being the guy they're trying to cancel. Well, no business, and we're seeing that with Spotify, no business that has that kind of a culture of wokeness is ever woke enough. You're seeing it with Disney now, which has become just a horrendous.
They've always been woke. Come on. They were supporting Nazis back when it wasn't even fashionable, back in the 1930s.
But they're getting worse.
Are they, though? Or have they always been?
Or maybe we're just shining the light onto it and we're understanding more because people are paying more attention to it. I don't know. It's very strange. The wokeness is very strange when you have a Supreme Court nominee, justice nominee, that is asked, can you define woman? And it's like, no, I'm not a biologist. Somebody's, I think, the follow-up question should have been just a very straightforward, are you a woman? Because that's the interesting thing. I
believe that's an insult these days. How dare you call somebody a woman?
Yes. This is the society that we're trying to cancel women.
You're making an assumption based on what? The fact that she's black?
Exactly. And the fact that she's a woman. But
yes, but mostly because you're being racist.
Right, exactly. No, wait, isn't it sexist? Isn't that if you ask if she's a woman? Now, if you ask if she's black, is that racist, or are you just trying to see
that's sexist?
You have to know how to treat somebody because it is a protected class. So if asking, it's necessary to know these things.
Well, I'm glad we've switched off the term minority to the term protected class because most protected classes are not actually minorities.
Well, and that is why the verbiage is changing. Because otherwise it doesn't make any sense to be like, oh, we're giving you something the other people don't. It was originally because you're not as able. Your particular circumstance means that
How dare you call them disabled?
Right. It is a minefield. Weird Al was perfectly on it with the word crime song. Everything is offensive. Everything is a minefield, depending what words you choose, which it just makes it a lot easier to shut up if you know that your opinion is going to trigger somebody, which is exactly the problem when you have the people that are right, that have a just cause, won't do anything because, if I say this, I'm going to get canceled. It's a weird thing.
Well, and probably rightly so for being something kind of ist. You don't want to be an ist.
You don't want to be any ist? Is there any good ist?
I don't think so.
A constitutionalist?
That's a horrible ist. That basically just means you're a right-wing nut job.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Anything
just
possible.
Like all those sexist founding fathers were.
Well, yeah, and they all owned slaves, so they were bad.
Yeah, they were
racist.
Slave-owning, racist, sexist. Like half of the founding fathers should have really been women.
Yeah, we really should go back and redo everything.
Yeah. It's just a bad system from the get-go because it excluded women from making political decisions.
Not that it was a system that could grow. I mean, look at Congress. Nancy Pelosi and AOC have power.
That's right.
Just saying.
This is what America wants. This is why I keep repeating over and over, and people don't like to hear it, but every country has the government they deserve. This country deserves the government that's bankrupting it.
Well, this goes back multiple administrations with just out of control spending for things that are absolutely idiotic. We all remember the stories, I think, if you're as old as we are, that, what was it, like $2,500 or was it $25,000 toilet seats? There was some very interesting
for spending.
Yeah. Government spending.
There was some pork involved for sure.
Oh, you think? But now we just have something that is that you could pass off as incompetence, that you could pass off as corrupt. What we have now just seems to be moronic. There's talk of, and I wanted to ask you about this, because the big push right now is Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. He is committing war crimes. If you notice, this is the new this is the new big red flag that everybody's waving. And they're talking about the ICC, the International Criminal Court, which is in the Netherlands, The Hague. And I don't know if a lot of Americans know or remember that this is the group that wanted to charge Bush and Cheney with war crimes.
Yeah, and how right they were in retrospect.
You know, it's something that the United States is right not to take part in. Russia also smart enough to say, nope, we are not. We are not going down this path, because it's a bunch of woke dicks that you cannot give control. This is part of the big one world government stuff, the new world order stuff. And it's just absolutely insane for the people now that are like, yes, oh, the ICC, Putin's a war criminal. It's like, just remember, Bush was a war criminal. If they really had their way, Trump would be a war criminal, even though I don't think he actually, like. Oh,
my God. Obama is the biggest war criminal.
Yeah.
The number of civilians that were killed by anonymous drone strikes during that presidency still is a record.
Yeah. Which is why when Obama took office, there was a lot of talk in the liberal media of, oh, yeah, he's going to get into this International Criminal Court. Yeah, he's going to join. Except, then it was, oh, well, the carve-out's going to be, he's going to join, but he won't let them prosecute Bush as part of this, because that would make the United States look bad. It's like, no, Obama didn't want to get into this because he knew what he was going to do. And he didn't want to be beholden. He didn't want to be at the mercy of some international court.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of reasons not to be at the mercy of international anything.
Well, yes.
It's all a paper tiger. It's a house of cards. It's all built on the foundation of mud. All of these bureaucrats for these quasi-national organizations, or the globalist ones, their only power is in people taking them seriously.
Right.
They have zero power outside of that.
You have to have something backing the power.
Yeah, like nuclear weapons.
Right, which, hey, Putin's got those, and he's crazy. Yeah. He's going to use them,
Yeah.
I just don't understand.
Well, there has been actually a video where there was some Russian politician, I can't remember which one, not like on the senior level, but talking about how the proper response to a NATO declaring war on Russia was to use strategic nukes to eliminate NATO's offensive capabilities immediately.
Well, war is war.
Yeah.
This is...
Yeah, I mean, you'd be stupid not to, frankly. If NATO starts attacking Russia, the country, I think then Russia does exactly what the U.S. would do and every other country would do, which is disable their enemies' offensive capabilities as quickly as possible.
That is how you wage war.
Yeah.
That is what makes sense.
It's not a good time to be in NATO.
Well, and the concept that NATO is strictly a defensive-minded mechanism, not so much.
It's never been. It's always been offensive. I mean, that's the thing. If you look at the history of NATO, and maybe you have to be as old as some of us are to look at the history of NATO, certainly from a first-hand experience, NATO and its strength lies not in any kind of defensive capability, because the only defensive action of the Cold War was a return nuclear strike. That was literally the only thing you could do, because the presumption was that the other guys initiate a first strike. And so NATO existed for the sole reason of our nuclear weapons are closer to you than yours are to us. Therefore, we'll be able to take out your nuclear weapons with a first strike as NATO, as the U.S., as the West, leaving you minimal defensive capabilities left. That was always the game plan. And the documents that show that, in fact, I just posted one last night on No Agenda Social. They exist back from the 1970s. That the game plan was always a first strike against Russia. There's no reason to have NATO unless you're planning a first strike.
Mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, that's the thing that worked for quite a while to keep the world from resetting itself, because there were men that had actual intelligence in office instead of buffoons.
Well, the concept is one that makes sense, because even if the other side hits first, as long as you can launch your nukes, then...
Right. But that's what NATO is for, is to prevent that retaliatory strike. If you can launch your nukes and have them hit their targets very quickly because they're physically located close to the country you're bombing, then they won't have the capability to launch a retaliatory strike, making you the winner of the nuclear
so-called
war.
Winner of the...
Well, winner in the sense that you've suffered maybe 5 or 6 nuclear strikes, whereas the other country is completely obliterated with no living people at all.
Well, it all depends on...
You're still going to have to deal with the nuclear fallout.
There's nuclear fallout. There's nuclear submarines. There's, you have...
Well, there are now. I mean, back in the 70s, that was just starting, so...
So it's become even more complex.
I mean, the nuclear submarines, the intercontinental ballistic missiles, the certainly hypersonic missiles, these are all things that are counters to an American first strike.
And just the coverage on this, again, the one-sidedness of everything, that should worry anybody. I talked about it on Random Thoughts this week. Like, I don't necessarily think there is a good guy in either side when it comes to Russia and Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Zelensky shut down multiple television networks last year because they were critical of his policies, that does not scream a democracy. This is not a free country. We're not trying to help a free country defend themselves against an authoritarian.
No.
We're helping one authoritarian against another authoritarian.
We're definitely helping the country that we've been utilizing for political, a lot of political illegal activities
and financial. Let's not forget
that's
connection.
Kind of where that's what I meant by that. Is
yes,
it's a country that has been utilized for convenience by politicians in order to do things that they can't readily do back home. And whether that means spying on people, whether that means washing money and, having, which effectively is legislation where the government pays for something, whether it's a subcontractor making something or whatever it is, but there's government money going in and then private money coming back out to the politician as a result of that. There are a lot of people, and on both sides of the House, incidentally, just as many Romneys as there are Pelosi's in this, have utilized Ukraine as a place to get rich as an American politician.
Well, yeah, how else do you explain Hunter Biden and the millions of dollars he took out of there?
Mm-hmm.
Although he took millions of dollars out of Moscow, too. So it's
he's the least of those guys.
He's the little fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is he just a little guppy that goes in to see where the big money is and then brings that back home to daddy in this case?
Yeah, I mean, he's this one that's doing drugs and getting caught doing things that plenty of other people are doing and not getting caught. So, but I think there's a deeper issue. And I actually kind of started bringing this up yesterday, but I just got too tired, which is Russophobia. And people are, it's an interesting thing because I think this is the first actual proper use of the term phobia. Because, when people say things like transphobic, you're transphobic, you have transphobia. what they really mean is you dislike people that have changed their gender and now are forcing you to accept them as something that they're visually not actually representing. But Russophobia, I think, is absolutely real, and it exists because for many years, starting, really the period of the Cold War, this concept of the Russians are out to get you. The Russians want to come and take over America. The Russians want to nuke America. This concept.
Well, yeah, those are different things. I don't know why they'd want to take over America. We can't
you remember Red Dawn?
We can't even get groceries.
Well, not these days. But you remember the movie Red Dawn from the 80s?
That was a great movie.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. About a group of kids that take on the Russians and win.
Right. They're like, 10 of them in the woods and all of it. Yeah.
Good job.
Not a realistic take on what would actually happen.
Well, it sure seemed realistic back in the day.
I mean, when we were kids, it was like, oh, yeah, we could be heroes, man. That's where the Bowie song, we could be heroes. We could get a couple weapons and we could be the ragtag group that could take down the big red menace. Of course, people are saying you're the red menace now, Gene, so I don't know.
Yeah, apparently. So a whole generation of people, I'd say probably between the age of 40 and 80, so about a 40-year block of people, had experienced for the majority of their life the messaging from popular media, from Hollywood, as well as the U.S. government, that Russia's the evil empire, Russians are out to get you, Russians are just waiting until they can nuke you, or kill you, or do whatever. And then when all of a sudden Berlin Wall fell, and it was like, hey, we won, great. That the end of the Cold War, we finally defeated the Soviet Union, we broke up communism. There was a little bit of probably about a 10-year period where it really did feel like America is the only superpower left, where there was a genuine feeling of like, well, we finally managed to win against communism, and now we're actually helping those poor Russian idiots that were communists for so many years get back on their feet. And there was a lot of help coming from the U.S. to Russia. And incidentally, this is the period of time where Putin had a conversation with Bill Clinton, who was in office, asking about the possibility of Russia joining NATO, and was told that, well, NATO's kind of irrelevant at this point. Why would you want to join an organization that probably will cease to exist shortly?
Well, right, because the only reason to have NATO was because of Russia.
Yeah, it wasn't because of Russia. It was because of the USSR. It was to create this forward base of operations for an initial strike on the USSR. And anybody who thinks that, oh, that's bullshit. No, it's purely defensive. All I would say is you clearly have not read any of the recently declassified documents, because they were absolutely talking about first strikes. So go get yourself educated first before you argue this. And so because we have a whole generation of people that grew up as Russophobes, as being bombarded with this message that we've always been at war with, what was the country? It wasn't Eurasia. It was, trying to remember, what was the phrase from 1984? We've always been at war with what?
From Orwell's novel, I don't remember.
Oh my God.
East Asia.
Yeah. Is it?
Billy Bones says East Asia. I believe him.
I thought it was something else.
I don't know.
We've always been at war. I'm going to do a Google search. Oceania. That sounds more.
We all need to read our George Orwell.
With Afghanistan.
Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so it is East Asia or Oceania. I guess it's both of those.
See, Billy Bones, a Walk Through the Mind podcast. Yeah. Obviously, this guy knows his stuff.
He's been walking through all kinds of mines, apparently. Wait, mines or mines?
Mines. M-I-N-D-S. Not a walk through the mines.
I thought it was M-I-N-D-S. Walking through a minefield.
Right. But it's kind of like that.
Like.
If your mind is like a minefield. Oh, yeah.
Totally.
A nice play on words there, Billy Bones.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it is a It's a thing. So consequently, these people are truly NPCs. They are drones, droids, whatever you want to refer to them as. And one of these guys who is incessantly posting anti-Russian stuff on No Agenda Social, there's a couple of them. There's a couple that are just like, nonstop Russia bad, Putin evil. And
which is the mainstream media mantra, which is, so it's funny.
Yeah, and that's why I said, dude, you're literally CNN. You're literally word for word repeating CNN with nothing to base your arguments on. And then they just tell me that I'm clearly carrying water for Putin.
Well, see, they don't know that. You're ordering it online and it's delivered.
It is delivered. Exactly. I'm ordering online for Putin. But that's the thing, is like I pointed out that no, you're just simply a Russophobe. You're afraid of Russia to an irrational degree, and hence you're ignoring the actual facts, which the first one being that this is not some Russia war that was started a month ago. This is Russia stepping into a war that's been going on for 8 years, which was a war against eastern Ukrainian provinces. And it was orchestrated with CIA backing when the elected government was overthrown 8 years ago. Now, you can say, well, that was a corrupt government. Yeah, absolutely. Ukraine has a history of being a corrupt country going back at least 100 years, probably longer than that. But for certainly the last 100 years that I remember, the Ukraine, there was tons of jokes about how, Ukraine is the place where you need to make sure you put a lock on your pockets because you'll probably get robbed when you go there. Ukraine was the place that was considered to be the place to go launder money in the USSR back when it was absolutely part of the Soviet empire. So why would that change? The only thing that changed is who the masters are, and the masters now reside in the United States instead of residing in Ukraine. Zelensky isn't some big Ukrainian, politician that was fighting the good fight for many years. He was a freaking actor, and we see plenty of videos of him as an actor who got hired to play a president in a made-for-television drama series in Ukraine, which is incidentally now playing on Netflix, the Ukrainian American network. And which, I'm just glad I canceled my Netflix back when they were doing kiddie porn content.
Right.
So now that they're doing, literally showing the TV show that was a 2-year-long election campaign to get Zelensky into office. They're showing that as a TV show on Netflix now.
Well, the media push a perspective, and that is the dangerous part of this, because this is the mind-numbing, brainwashing, whatever you want to call it, that's going on, and the media has a huge effect. You look at the Hunter Biden laptop story. If that is covered fairly when it broke, I don't think there's any chance Biden wins the presidency. So the media, if you want to talk about an election that was swayed, that was a major factor, I think, in it. But perspective on all of this stuff, I don't think a lot of people understand the relationship between Ukraine and Russia. A lot of people believe, I think, that they have been mortal enemies for life for billions of years, and they've never been, as one. And we know that's not true. And I just bring up the stuff like perspective, like, well, why is the UK still in Ireland? And I know maybe that's not the perfect analog here, but that is the kind of relationship that those countries have. And this is more like a domestic squabble than two strangers going to, getting into a fight. And I don't think a lot of people get that.
And it's a domestic squabble that is happening literally on the border of Russia. It'd be if Mexico and Guatemala or Nicaragua started bickering about stuff because Mexico was starting to shell Nicaragua across the border. And it's like at some point somebody's going to step in and say, okay, guys, we need to stop doing this. We're going to demilitarize you so you can't be shelling each other or over the border. And the U.S. has been taking that role quite often, and quite often also unilaterally without any real evidence of anything. I mean, like, now we can look back at Iraq and say the only reason that Bush went into Iraq was to do something to make his dad proud. That's the only reason that Americans died in Iraq, and 250,000 Iraqis died in Iraq.
See, I don't really buy that.
Well, you don't buy which part of it? That we were in Iraq?
No, I know we were in Iraq, but I don't believe that was the reason for it. The intelligence appeared to be completely wrong. The question becomes, because the president is not the guy that is collecting the intelligence. And that's really good when Joe Biden's president, let me tell you. But I do believe that
so you
George
think
Bush had his
believed
faults.
There was weapons of mass destruction there?
I believe that. I don't know. You can't really prove that one way or the other, but it seemed like the top generals, I mean, Powell was all in on that, and he's a guy that is more liberal. So, I mean, when people try to make this a political thing, it's funny because it's like, well, Powell turned out to be, pretty much a big liberal guy.
He was always a big liberal guy.
Right. But so these two sides, everybody agreed.
Bush was a big liberal guy.
Clinton agreed. Well, Bush is a rhino, right? There's a whole lot of things. Bush was
just to the left of Clinton.
Clinton believed that there were weapons of mass. See, all of these people went along with that. And
no, I think you're misinterpreting. I think what you're saying is that the news said that they believe this. And I don't think that short of a deathbed confession by one of these guys, we're ever going to have the truth.
Well, I would agree there.
The truth is a lot closer to, we've come up with some very good reasons for invading Iraq. Reasons that will sell. We've done the polling, we've done the testing, and we are pretty confident that the American people will support an action if we say that they have nuclear weapons.
It wasn't even nuclear, was it? It was that they had
chemical, whatever the hell. Point is, whatever can be classified as a mass destruction.
Or that's like calling a 9mm pistol a assault weapon. I mean, it's an interesting designation.
I mean, that's the cool thing is that by that definition, Russia hasn't used a single weapon of mass destruction in Ukraine.
See, there you go.
Because they've all been extremely targeted weapons. They're not mass destructive weapons.
Why the push now that Putin's a war criminal? I mean, the news coverage is amazing. It's like he's bombing hospitals and schools, and he's targeting the civilians. It's like, it doesn't make sense from a military standpoint. It doesn't make sense.
No, and there's nothing wrong with bombing buildings that are labeled as hospitals if your intelligence tells you that they're used as munitions depots.
I agree.
Just because you paint a red cross on top of a building doesn't make it immune from being bombed if you're using it for something other than that purpose. Same with schools, same with everything.
Was the bottom line about this whole thing to goad Putin into making this decision so the rest of the world could more or less cancel him? Because that is what this is. If he is deemed a war criminal by the ICC.
Yeah, but so is Bush, and it doesn't make any difference. So who cares?
It would really make the difference of then he can't really leave Russia. I don't know if Putin really wants to leave Russia to go anywhere at this point.
Well, that's a ridiculous point, too. I mean, absolutely he can go anywhere. If you look at the map.
Well, he can go anywhere, but if he is under one of these jurisdictions and say he's a war criminal, then he can't.
Nothing's going to happen.
You can't say that.
Nothing's going to happen.
I cannot say that. No,
I can absolutely say it.
But that's the reason for this, isn't it? To cancel. No. This is why they're grabbing all of these yachts and stuff.
It's hot
air. Of course it is.
It's just talk. And if you look at the map that shows the countries that voted to have sanctions in place against Russia, it's basically a strip that overlaps NATO 100%. It's the US, Canada, and then majority of European countries. which leaves all of South America, all of Africa, and just about all of Asia, except for Japan, and certainly the largest countries, India and China, that didn't vote for any sanctions for Russia. So if really,
well, and Israel,
the West
right?
has isolated itself, I don't know, it's a tiny little sliver. And Israel's been kind of playing both sides of this because they know that they can get smacked for Palestinian stuff very easily if the wave starts going against Russia. Because the arguments are very similar as well.
But
we're
what
just
is the
protecting
game?
People on our side.
What is the game? What do they hope to gain by pulling this Putin's a war criminal stuff?
I think that there's a combination of true believers, because this is a religion after all to a lot of people. It's been ingrained into them. It does not require any logic or proof. It simply requires a belief. So that's one component. The other part of it is people that are drinking their own Kool-Aid. And while they don't necessarily believe this in the religious fanatical sense, they believe in the power and strength of the message so much that they think that this will make some kind of a difference to people in China and India, which it does not.
Well, right, the rest of the world. But not. Here's my next question then. You're the true believers, and we're told that there is the, Azov battalion, is that the correct name? Of the
Azov.
Azov battalion. Now, are they true believers enough to bomb a few hospitals and schools that are actually hospitals and schools, to send the video out to the rest of the world to say Russia did this?
We have video evidence showing exactly that. And the true believers in this country, who are simply Russophobes, they can't accept the possibility that somebody can possibly be fighting Russia and be on the wrong side. The irony, of course, is these are the same idiots that don't understand that Ukraine is Russia. I mean, they're like they lack the basic historical knowledge and geographic knowledge to know that literally what they're talking about is a country that's 30 years old, that's always been part of Russia, except for the periods of time when it was invaded by Lithuania and Poland Empire. And that's where Catholicism was brought into there, because Russian Orthodoxy started in Kiev. That was literally the city where Russia accepted Christianity as the state faith. And that was the central hub of Russia until it was moved to Moscow. And it wasn't like the Russians left Kiev and then the Ukrainians came back and are living there. No, these are literally and genetically and ethnically the exact same people. There's always been jokes in the past about the Balkans. People in the recent generations don't even know what the Balkans are. But the big joke in the Balkans was that the borders are redrawn every single year because they're like the Hatfields and McCoys. The Balkan countries just cannot stand each other, even though they're actually blood relatives. Like, they're so damn close to each other, ethnically and historically, but they have a great hatred for each other, that you have what is essentially the exact same people that by the rest of the world would be seen as the same people. But yet they're constantly at war with each other.
Yeah, and it was interesting to me that the head of the Russian Orthodox Church is backing Putin on this. I mean, you normally think a Christian church...
Well, why wouldn't he be?
Well, because most leaders of Christian faiths would be like, well, no, war is bad. Let's find another way.
Oh, I don't know about that, dude. Come on. You think the Christian leaders in the U.S. were not backing George Bush for going into Iraq?
No, again, this is the reality of people believe it's just.
Yeah.
And that's what it's the hardest thing to get across to people, is that it's believed to be just, and where the story you're being told, and maybe, as Adam Curry said yesterday on the No Agenda podcast, it's really hard for a lot of people to believe that maybe we're the dicks in this case. And I don't know if we are or not, but I want to leave that possibility open and be like, well, I need data, I need information, I need proof of stuff.
Mostly we're just stupid. We're not dicks in this country. We're just stupid because we're literally fighting on the side of the Nazis, being shown that we're fighting on the side of the Nazis, and simply saying, yeah, but Putin.
Well, we've gone down that road in Afghanistan. Remember that? Oh, well, we want to help Afghanistan get rid of all those pesky Russians. So we armed them. And then what happened in Afghanistan? Hey.
Yeah. Although I do have to say that arming the Afghans was an absolutely brilliant move. And
until it wasn't.
Well, yes, it had a kickback consequence. But if you read the story, there's a book that was written about it. I can't remember the congressman's name now, but it was a guy from East Texas here. But that was his one cause that he really was into. He was very much a middle of the roader. He went along with whatever the caucuses said to vote for, but this was his main cause that he found to support. And he really saw the Afghans as the little guy being attacked by the
Charlie Wilson,
the Goliath. Charlie Wilson's War. That's the name of the book.
Thank you, Peter.
It's a wonderful read, and the way that they managed to bring weapons to the Mujahideen by using Israel and Egypt at the same time, countries that were effectively at war with each other, getting them to both be involved in the smuggling of American weapons into Afghanistan. It's just a really neat read. And it really was the introduction of the American high-tech weaponry, like the Stingers, that turned the tide of that occupation from the, fairly successful one for the Soviets to one where the cost of being there was just too high. And incidentally, the biggest reason, well, there was a number of reasons. One was the use of the high-tech weapons made it expensive, because the Hind helicopters that were flying out there, they had armored, the bottom of the helicopter was armored against small weapons fire. So like normal helicopters are not armored, and even shooting your AK-47 up into the air, you could potentially end up killing the pilot.
Right.
That's been the case of a lot of, like, if you look at Vietnam era helicopters the US used, same kind of problem. But the Hinds are armored helicopters, and so they're immune to small arms fire, but they're not immune to Stinger missiles or any kind of weaponry. I think originally they brought the Ehrlichman guns there, which were high caliber anti-aircraft weapons back from, I believe, World War II, even certainly much older time period. But the point is, America paid for, through Israel and Egypt, arms supplies that were brought in and provided the armaments to the Afghans. And the goal was just to get the Ruskies out of there. I don't think anybody thought forward enough to think about how we're going to destroy these weapons so they don't get left behind once we win.
Well, that's a very weird country in the fact that once the United States left, it completely fell back into chaos, where the people that lived there, and it's just mind-boggling to me because they've gone through, there's enough people alive that went through the stages, that knew what it was like before, what it was like when the United States was in there and provided at least, you could argue that we should have never gone, but they provided some semblance of stability there. When the United States left, most of the people there just went, nope, not fighting for this. We're just going to give back in to the original people.
Well, that's because, again, you're assuming that the U.S. mainstream media narrative was correct. Nobody in Afghanistan ever wanted the U.S. in there. The U.S. was no better than Russia as far as the Afghans were concerned. The U.S. came in and imposed their own
peanut
will.
Butter bars and stuff. We brought candy bars.
We were there to guard the poppy plantations. That was the main purpose of the U.S. being there for 25 years.
Hunter needed his heroin.
Somebody needs a lot of heroin because the price of heroin went up the entire time that the U.S. was guarding the plantations.
Well, see, they were smart. They were bringing the prices up.
Yeah. But it wasn't the U.S. military that was getting the profit from that.
No.
The cost to the taxpayer was tremendous. Well, but what we were doing is effectively being a private security firm for the European drug companies that were using the poppy seeds, using the opium, to then create drugs that they sold to Americans at hugely inflated prices. Thank you.
Why do we care about Ukraine then?
We don't care about Ukraine. Rich people that had used Ukraine as a way to launder money care about Ukraine, and they happen to be the ones that the Americans elected in office.
Wasn't the story that Hillary Clinton's private servers were hosted in Ukraine?
Yeah, maybe.
That was a story. I don't remember. I don't think we ever got
I do know
proof.
that there were a couple of, I think the security company that was responsible for investigating Hillary's servers was a Ukrainian company.
That's possible.
You remember how those servers were given to this private company to search and they found nothing and then the servers were destroyed?
Well, of course they have to be. You have to wash them, man. You don't
That's usually what happens when somebody doesn't find anything is they destroy the evidence.
Right. It's good. Just to make sure that nobody ever finds the evidence that they didn't find.
That was a Ukrainian firm that did that. I mean, there's just a lot of shit in Ukraine. Look, the average Ukrainian person is no different, no better or worse than the average, American. It's just that they have a certain reputation that a lot of people over many years, not just the last 30 years of American politicians doing this, but a lot of people have utilized Ukraine as a place do things which are illegal in other parts of the world. It's got that reputation. It's got a reputation for what I guess some countries would refer to as white slavery. They've been in the selling of women trade for hundreds of years. This is not to say that every person who's in Ukraine is got a brothel that they're running. Not at all. It's just that some countries, if you look at the stats, they stand out. The U.S., for example, stands out in having the greatest percentage of population incarcerated of any country in the world. There are more Americans behind bars than there are Chinese behind bars, than there are Indians or Russians or any other country in the world. North Korea has fewer people behind bars than America. Not just raw people, but as a percentage of population. We are a country that likes to put people in prison. We stand out by that. We're known for that. Ukraine was known for other things, like turning a blind eye to things that may not be legal in most other parts of the world.
Well, that's what we're getting to here now.
You mean Chicago?
Well, the United States in general, but yes, the large liberal cities are at the head of that. Do not want to prosecute. Let people do whatever they want.
Yeah, and that is a solution. It's, I don't think, one that most people that obey laws want. But ultimately, again, everybody has the government they deserve. It is the apathy of the people living in Chicago that led them to elect the mayor that they have and the city council that they have that leads to the defunding of the police.
The beautiful liberal DA. Yeah. It is absolutely
with the shrunken head?
Well,
yes.
That's the mayor, but the liberal DA.
Sorry.
I mean, they're all in the same stew.
Does DA also have a shrunken head?
No, she seems regular size.
Yeah.
But it is a black female also. So, I mean, that seems to be the problem with Chicago.
Oh, my God. So you're both racist and sexist?
Yes, at the same time.
Wow.
But it's insane. It is
crazy.
And it's like, what is the end game? Just with Chicago the same, just like Russia. What is the end game? Yeah. It's really bizarre to me that all of the coverage is like, we don't understand why Putin is doing this. It's absolutely just madness. There's no reason he's getting nothing out of this, which if you believe that, maybe you want to dig a little bit deeper because that doesn't make any sense. That somebody's doing something that it's causing such a hubbub that there is no upside to. So why are you doing it?
You got to think you just got to think harder, man. There's always an upside for somebody.
Yeah. But that's where the mainstream media is not catching up.
Who that upside is for. And I think that in the current conflicts with Ukraine, the downside is mostly for the liberal political class but not exclusively liberal. Like I said, there's plenty of Republicans on that side of it as well. That's why I've been saying there's only one party lately. There is no two-party system in the U.S. We've literally gotten to the point where there's zero difference between the parties. There's the party, which has both the people that came in with an R and a D next to their name. And then there's a few outliers, like Rand Paul, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that are outside of their own parties, that are outliers that actually speak for people that used to have a party representing them, but no longer do.
CVD in the troll room hits it, saying the propaganda makes you think it's Russia or Ukraine. It's a critical breadbasket region and a good excuse to jack energy prices on their way out. Yeah, well, we're seeing that. This is immediately the excuse for why your gas is going up. This is immediately the excuse for buying an electric car. This is immediately an excuse for why you want to air condition or heat your home. It's going to be twice as much. And it's because of this.
Yeah, you shouldn't be using air conditioning. How dare you?
I know. You bad humans.
I'm not looking forward to this summer's air conditioning prices because living in the South, man,
it gets warm.
It normally is about $300 a month to have air conditioning running.
Yeah, about 200 here.
It may go up a lot more than that this year. It might hit $500-600 a month for air conditioning.
Donate now. Help Sir Gene not melt.
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of people are going to lose their lives over this because people that are elderly,
population control too,
that can't afford. I mean, they tried to kill off a bunch of people with the Chinese flu. They're going to do it again with crazy high electrical pricing.
Well, here's the thing that worries me because this was put through maybe California. Maybe I may have some of these details wrong, but I believe California is already floating something or doing something where they're going to start sending checks out to people because of the price of gas. And I believe this has been floated on a federal level as well, which is, these gas prices that are so high because this is what we did. We're at fault, but because the gas prices went up, we're going to start sending you, right, because of Putin, we're going to start sending you checks for people that drive to work. We're going to start sending you checks for $100 a month to offset the raise in gas prices. And people are going to embrace this like they did the crap during COVID because they're stupid and don't understand the payoff, in this case, universal basic income. Something that's been warned about on the No Agenda program for years, on the Glenn Beck program for years, and I'm sure others. But they're looking for any way they can to make everybody reliant on the government. We need to get the government check. And this is not good. This is not good for the country. This is not good for your welfare. This is not good for your family. But that,
the irony, of course, in this, and something that is a great test to see whether someone has an IQ above 50, is that if you truly wanted to help people with the rising gas prices, what you do is reduce the gasoline tax, because the gasoline tax is responsible in California for about half the cost of gasoline, in other states for less than half, but a sizable chunk. Here in Texas, I believe it's responsible for about $1.50 of the price of gas. And in many states, it is based on a percentage. So as the price of gas goes up, the amount that is collected by the state increases, because as a percentage, as the price goes up, so does the share that the government gets. In some states, it's a fixed number. And so even if the price of gas goes up, the tax stays the same buck or whatever it is normally. But in many states, it's a percentage number. So it's actually very profitable for the states when the gas prices go up, because they actually increase their funding coming from gasoline tax. And while it was usually established as a road tax, in just about every state, the funds are intermingled with the general fund and used for every kind of government program, whether they're, setting aside public property to become BLM parks in recognition of the martyrs of that religion,
Right.
or whether they're using that money to provide raises for government workers. It's
just like
general
the
fund
tolls.
money.
Yeah, from the tollways here.
Mm-hmm.
The gas, you're right. Where you're getting really pumped with the gas tax is there's a federal gas tax, there's a state gas tax, and I believe there's also local community, city or county gas taxes that can be on there. Yeah. And you're right. If they wanted to provide that relief valve for the rising fuel prices, it would be much easier to suspend the gas tax rather than we're going to send you a check. The fact that they're even talking about doing it that way should scare you.
Now, and I can tell you why they're not doing it that way is because they all drive Teslas, which don't stop at the pump and don't pay gas tax to begin with.
See, now that's the other interesting thing with all these electric vehicles is the gas tax. How are they getting this money? Where's it going to come from?
Well, they're sending, and it's a crazy number. It's something like for the last month during the event happening in Ukraine, or I should say the country formerly known as Ukraine.
Was there something going on in Ukraine? Did I miss that?
Yeah, there was some kind of event happening there. I think it was a big festival. But anyway,
Putin Fest.
During the course of this event, I think it was called the Fire Fest. During the course of this event, God damn it, where was I going with this?
I don't know.
You just blanked me out by asking a question.
Sorry, I didn't know your brain only had one of the CPU cores up.
I'm lucky to have half a core running right now. We're talking about the taxes, gasoline tax.
And the electric vehicles and the lack of thereof.
Oh, yeah, electric vehicles. Right. Okay. So, relating to electric vehicles there, or not there, but the number of people that are gloating right now about driving electrical vehicles, like who's that has been comedian on TV with the glasses.
The comedian on the TV with glasses.
Yeah. Used to be funny.
That's driving an electric vehicle?
They're all driving electric vehicles. But
Drew Carey?
He did a monologue where he, looks just like him, but a different guy. Doing a monologue about how we should all be happy to chip in more money through higher gas prices because it helps Ukraine.
Oh, Bill Maher.
And no, not Bill Maher. It's the guy that used to pretend to be a Republican.
Somebody pretended to be a Republican?
Yes, he was on the Jon Stewart show pretending to be a Republican. What the hell? I'm blanking out his name. Somebody will know. Yeah, Colbert.
The douche, according to
he had the monologue about how everybody ought to be happy paying more for gas because it's helping Ukraine. God only knows how it's helping.
It's a patriotic thing.
It's a patriotic thing, and besides, I drive a Tesla. I mean, it's all that stuff like that. These people are too stupid to realize that I shouldn't even say majority because it depends on the state they're in, but very likely either half or a majority of the electricity produced in your state is produced by burning natural gas, which the price is increasing on.
Well, which means also your electric price is going way up.
That's the point. So, yeah, you're avoiding paying the higher gasoline prices because you're driving a Tesla, but give it a few months. Give it 3, 4, 5 months, and the price of electricity will double, and so will your Tesla bill for driving a Tesla.
Well, we've also talked about the fact that the current state of our electrical grid is not ready to handle. Yes, everybody bailing on gas and going to electric.
And I love electric. I had an electric car for several years. I sold it last year, so I got rid of it. But that I'm also, I'm early in the list of people on the Tesla truck. I'm waiting for that. My name's already on the pre-order list. So I'm a fan of electric, but not for any kind of bullshit environmental reason. I'm a fan of the torque.
Yeah, well, they're fun to drive.
I love me some torque, man.
And I appreciate the fact that they are quiet, although a lot of people...
They're adding speakers to make them louder, though.
Right, because otherwise you'll get run over because you won't hear the car. That was my first question, and we'll see where this progresses, but NASCAR is talking about experimenting with a electric.
Oh, they'll start winning races left and right.
I mean, I don't believe they're going to use them in their main series. I think it would be an experimental, like a minor league kind of thing. But I think that would be really
can't,
cool
because they get their asses kicked. If they introduce electric cars, it would make every other car look like it's,
Well, it would be all electric
century.
cars racing electric cars. I'm just saying it would be
have
the top
to be.
drivers.
But that's my point. Is if the electric cars are racing themselves, it's funny to call them the minor league because their race times would be faster.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying this would be
drivers driving regular cars.
Right, the drivers just wouldn't be the ones we consider the major league drivers.
I think they'd switch pretty fucking quick though, because that's where the real records are going to be set.
It would be fast. And it would just be weird because I've been to a few races and a big part of that culture is the noise those cars make. You can feel that when the cars go by. It'll be very interesting to see a pack of cars go by and be like,
yeah.
It's like, what were they? Wait, where were they? I don't know. I didn't even see anything.
Okay, they still make more noise than that. The electric motors do make noise.
The tires would actually make some noise as well.
Tires would make some noise. You could still hear them, but
they can add those rumble strips, like they do on the highways.
Oh God, that'd be horrible. No, if you go to a Grand Prix race, those cars are all running at super high RPMs with little tiny engines. And they all sound like, sound like a vacuum cleaner or a lawn trimmer. And I don't think that's the noise you're referring to. You're referring to the NASCAR American, low rumble noise, right?
Right. Yes. The big bass that pumps out of those vehicles. Mm-hmm. It is quite amazing. If you've never been to a stock car race, the amount of noise, it may be slightly different now. I'm going back 10, 15 years before all of this, environmental stuff start coming out, but I think they're still pretty damn loud. You could feel it. And yes, the Indy car is a little different because I've seen the whatever they raced here at Joliet, which was I don't think it was F1, maybe it was IndyCar. Whichever series, those was a completely different experience to watch. But those, oh my God, those guys and women fly in that series.
Yeah, the F1 is interesting in a very different way because it's all twisty turnies. But the cars sound a lot worse. I have to admit that.
Yeah, it's like, give me a little more, give me a little rumble.
I was always a fan of motocross. I always like watching the WRC stuff, the cars racing through wooden trails and jumping over hills, and you got all these observers that are 5 feet away from a car going sideways at 100 miles an hour.
Oh, well, that was the early days. If you see some of the video and pictures from the early days of NASCAR, especially when they raced on the beach in Daytona.
Oh, yeah.
People were just standing there.
They're standing right next to them, yeah.
Do you not realize what's going on here?
Or if you look at the old videos of races in the salt flats.
Oh, yeah.
Same kind of thing. People are just standing. You got kids sitting on their parents' shoulders 5 feet away from a car moving 100 miles an hour. Yeah, it was wild.
It is a bizarre stuff.
See, that's the kind of environment that produces men.
Yes. Oh, my God.
And instead of soy, which is what we produce right now. We produce soy children.
So you're like Soy Gene. Instead of Sir Gene, Soy Gene, that would be.
Oh, soy. Oh, I see. You were making a joke up there.
Yes. I was trying to make a joke.
You're attempting for the joke. Yeah.
Was it a bad joke?
I guess, I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I was focused on my food order.
You see, you haven't. Okay. How are you even going to eat? You haven't gotten your order done yet?
No, I got the order done. I'm just waiting for it to be delivered.
Oh, well, do we get to hear that part of the podcast too?
Probably not, because I think it's going to be another hour.
Oh, how do you live when your delivery takes longer than an hour to get your groceries to your door?
Well, luckily I've been busy doing a podcast while I'm waiting for my delivery to show up.
You spoiled American, you. We do have a few people. I'm pretty sure
we're not the only people that get deliveries.
No, and I've been picking up. Well, I haven't been picking up. I have a wife for that. You, Taryn at unrelenting.show. Well, no, it just works out much better because, I could go pick it up. I just told her the one day that the car might look like it's been in a NASCAR race when it comes back. So, you don't really want me.
That sounds reasonable.
You don't want me driving around a whole lot. I almost got hit by a semi the other day. Not That
How
sounds
did you manage that? Were you walking around outside with your cane?
that sounds a lot. Well, it was kind of concerning because I mean I don't drive much, but I had to. It was one of those days where we had a little bit of snow, so it was a few weeks ago, and I hadn't started the one car in a while, and the battery was a little low, so I put the battery charger on it, fired the car up, and I'm like, okay, I'll do what I really don't need to do, which is go get a Starbucks because I just wanted to drive somewhere to go get something. So when I was coming back, I was sitting at a stop sign, came to a stop, which was a two-way stop, coming into the like little industrial area by the Starbucks, and a semi's coming in. So I'm just sitting at the stop sign, and I'm like, okay, he's coming in, and he turns, and as he's turning, the back of the truck is getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm like, I didn't know, I think somebody was behind me. I couldn't really back up. I swear this guy came. I mean, my depth perception's not great, but I believe he came within about an inch of the car. Yes. It's like, what can I do?
Sounds too close for comfort to me.
It was a little too close for comfort. And I had that happen once when I was maybe 25 or so in my Camaro out on the yeah, baby, out on the tollway. Back when you had to go through the toll booths and then go back and merge. That's the one beautiful thing about these automatic things now.
Right.
You don't have to deal with that. But I did have a semi with the big spikes, coming out of their tire, scrape alongside the car because everybody was just slowly merging and got a little too close for comfort.
Wow.
That'll wake you up.
I bet it would. That would make you not want to be in that lane.
Yeah. That's when it's like 14 lanes trying to get down to 3.
I remember those toll roads. I always thought they were quite impressive. And I especially like the overpass McDonald's.
Oh, yes. Yeah. They've closed a few of those down.
Have they? Oh.
But that was always great. When you had to, especially when there was a lot of traffic. And I used to drive down the 294 here in outside of Chirac, coming back and forth to work. And, if the traffic was bad enough, you could just get off and go have a burger. Try to wait it out a little bit. You could get anything you want in a tollway oasis, they called it. It really wasn't all that impressive, but McDonald's or Wendy's or then later on, of course, Starbucks, you could get in there. What people can get on the expressway, I don't know. But we do work on the value for value model. We do have a few people to thank for today's show.
Do we now?
Unlike the last show, which it was kind of anemic. But coming in,
it's clearly the content.
Obviously. Well, no, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it is because the notes are going to prove that here. Coming in at 2625, Kelly McCulloch says, I'm really enjoying the podcast. Appreciated the perspective on Ukraine. Keep up the good work. Thanks. So see, the number one executive producer of the show, and thank you, Kelly, enjoyed and appreciated the perspective we bring on Ukraine.
Well, I'm glad somebody does.
Which, right, instead of calling you there are people in the troll room saying you're carrying water for Putin and you sound out of breath. People
in the troll room. Okay. Well, since I'm not in the troll room, I guess I don't see that. But I was going to say, there are people on No Agenda Social saying much worse. So.
Really?
Oh, dude, I'm getting death threats.
Just because you have a difference of opinion.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm worthy of death threats at this point.
I'm not even sure of anything in my own personal life. There's a lot of things if you're really pushed to it, you're like, are you sure this person did this? Are you sure? I would have a hard time guaranteeing most things, except for things that I myself do or things that you have witnessed. I will not stand up and say, no, I know 100% that this person did or didn't do this. But people are willing to do this about countries, and it's bizarre.
It is Russophobia. It is the completely irrational fear of all things Russian that was ingrained into these people at a young age and maintained in the background and has made its way back. It's like they were programmed this way and the programming has now kicked in. based on mainstream media. The thing that's very sad about it is these are literally the same people that were against getting the COVID vaccine, the same people that were saying the mainstream media is nothing but lies, the same people that said that this election was stolen. These are the people that are generally in the No Agenda Social, making up the listening audience in No Agenda. And certainly not all of them, but a certain percentage of these people are somehow yet all in on mainstream media being truthful and honest and Putin being a war criminal.
Yes, that's the oddity to me. I don't understand how you go from completely not believing what you're being told by a group to, oh, but they're right about this. It's very weird.
And doesn't that make Trump a war criminal because he's a buddy of Putin's?
Of course. Well, that's why they tried to tie him to Trump. Trump was to Putin. They were supposed to go down and be canceled together. Together,
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what's so crazy. Like, I expect the liberals to be Russophobes. I totally expect that because because their forefathers, of course, were big supporters of the USSR, and at least they understand. Ironically, the liberals get that the USSR is not Russia and Russia is not the USSR. These are two completely different political regimes that happen to have some geographic overlap. But you can't translate your feelings for one to the other. I'm sure there were people that liked Imperial Russia that became very quickly not fans of communist Russia. And the liberals in this country were fans of communist Russia and have become absolutely not fans of capitalist Russia.
Right. Let's not forget, was it still not the USSR when Senator Bernie Sanders got married and went to Moscow for his honeymoon? That was still the USSR then, I believe.
I don't know what year that was. When did he get married?
I would have to double check. Anybody want to check that in the troll room?
If it was back in the 80s, then yeah, absolutely, it was the USSR.
I believe it was 70s or 80s. So
yeah,
then
it is just this weird dichotomy that seems to happen. It's and I interrupted you during the support break here.
I mean, people saying they liked what you say. That is, I know that's rare, so it kind of scares you. when people are like, yeah, no, this is great. There are more, including $25 from Sir Sean of the Allegheny Valley.
Oh, nice.
That is a monthly donation. He was in the troll room. He had to go, but I'm sure he'll listen to this at some point, or hopefully still is. We appreciate it. Sir Sean is turning into the patron saint of podcasters because he donates to this show. He donates to Planet Rage. He donates to Random Thoughts. He donates to the Rock and Roll Pre-Show. And I'm sure he donates to other shows on the No Agenda stream, possibly those including Cold Acid and Abel Kirby, who do.
Well, I recommend that he check out Sir Gene Speaks.
Well, see, I think he's getting enough of you here is probably, how
There's
that
never
works.
Never enough. Next episode of Sir Gene Speaks will be recorded tomorrow. So stay tuned for that coming out over the weekend.
According to Cold Acid, we should donate to him for having to listen to Sir Gene. Wow.
Ooh.
He's carrying that Canadian water, though. Cold Acid.
Yeah, sounds like it.
You have to give him a little bit of a break for that. Now, coming in next, do you remember Pitar? I think, am I saying that right? This is like, I have a problem with his name. He donated last week.
Yes, that's right.
And his last name, I believe, Novakovic. I believe.
Yeah, and I mispronounced it, so I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it this time around because he was from, what was it?
He was a Serbian
or something?
He was of Serbian descent.
There we go.
He sends in $25 with the note saying, please don't try to pronounce my last name again.
See, there we go. I didn't even try. Perfect.
But then how do we, then to let people, but yeah, we just need a cool nickname for him. Whatever works. We appreciate it. Josh Mandel coming in with 1221 with a note saying, really enjoying the unrelenting show. The Ukraine commentary lately is worth far more than what you're charging for this podcast. winky face. I always like the emoji.
Well, let's hope so, because we're charging 0, so it should be worth more.
We're worth way more than 0, infinitesimally more than 0. But we appreciate that, Josh. And Dude Named Mike coming in with 565 ITM from Dude Named Mike in the troll room. Darren O, you have the golden radio voice. Unlike Gene, I guess. That doesn't, that was just implied, the unlike Gene part.
Yes, I think I have the platinum one, so,
Oh, yeah. I'm going titanium, baby. What's better than platinum?
Titanium.
Is it rhodium or...
it depends. I mean, I guess uranium.
Hey, the uranium voice. That sounds deadly.
I have the uranium radio voice.
Yes, I am radioactive here on the Unrelenting Show.
Radioactive. You don't even need a podcast to hear my voice in your head.
And there have been sats being streamed. If you want to boost us, you can do that now if you're on a Podcasting 2.0 app. If not, go to newpodcastapps.com. And if you want to get involved in the value for value system, go to unrelenting.show/donate. All of the information is there. And no matter how you get the value back to us, we greatly appreciate everybody for listening, giving us their time, and of course, supporting the show monetarily, because as you're hearing, Gene, it's going to start costing him like $50 a pint just to get some Ben & Jerry. Well, no, you don't want Ben & Jerry's. They're evil socialists.
I definitely don't want Ben & Jerry's.
$50 a pint for that Häagen-Dazs.
Ben & Jerry sold the company a long time ago. I mean, these are socialist capitalists.
Yeah,
they cashed out
like Bernie Sanders.
Like Bernie Sanders, multimillionaires. Like Zelensky, multimillionaires.
It is kind of a thing.
There's not really a whole lot of, socialists that aren't multimillionaires, really, if you think about it.
And it looks like Bernie got married the second time in 1988. So
yeah, that would have still been the Soviet Union.
And so they went to the Soviet Union for his honeymoon. That shows you. You're absolutely right.
But a lot of people have been to the Soviet Union. Adam Curry's been to the Soviet Union. John C. Dworak's been to the Soviet Union. I may or may not have been to the Soviet Union. There's been a lot of people that have been there.
But did you honeymoon there? I mean, really? If you're planning a wedding right now, are you thinking, wow, where is the nicest place we can go for a romantic week? Is Moscow on your list?
Nothing beats Ukraine for that.
Well, right now it's hot in Ukraine.
It's quite hot. No, I mean, honestly, there were like that area, the Crimea specifically, it was a huge tourist area. The Azov Sea was pretty touristy. The Black Sea was absolutely touristy. So the coast of southern Ukraine was a tourist, kind of like the Gulf Coast, like not the first place you'd pick if you're going to go and be sitting on the beach. You'd probably go to Greece or, some other place further away in Europe. But if you couldn't afford to go to some place like that, then going down to the coast of Ukraine is actually pretty nice.
And I guess now, if you're getting tired of those bare grocery store shelves that you're seeing here in the United States, Russia's the place you want to go.
Yeah, but they won't accept U.S. dollars anymore. They only accept rubles, so you're kind of screwed. You're going to have to buy rubles. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention that we talked about last night on No Agenda Social, is the news that the ruble is back under 100 exchange rate with the U.S. dollar.
Should we invest?
Well, no, it's too late. That's kind of my point. I told you that I would
buy some Russian money
without giving any kind of financial advice. Right. That I certainly bought some rubles when they were going for about $1.50, or which is to say 150 rubles per one U.S. dollar. So I actually bought 1 million rubles, and yeah, a ruble millionaire. Look at that. And in 3 weeks, the price is back down to under 100, which means that is a 33% profit.
Wow. If I had a bell, I'd be ringing it.
In 3 weeks. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to sell them. I'm going to hold them because it's going to keep getting better and better. But if you wanted to just quickly cash out, and if you happen to have bought some rubles a few weeks ago, it's now at a point fairly close to where it was before the sanctions started. But, ironically, the U.S. dollar is experiencing, depending on who you believe, But whether it's the current government administration or whether you look at shadow stats for the historical calculation formulas, but anywhere between 12 and 18% inflation this year.
And cryptos are going back up.
Which means the value of your US dollar is down by anywhere from 12 to 18% in the course of 1 year. So not saying everybody should sell their dollars and buy rubles, but the ruble is going to be a more stable currency to stay with, though.
Hey, man, Cardano's back up to $1.09. Bitcoin at 44,000.
Again, it's not the Cardano's up to $1.09. It's the US dollar is down to one Cardano.
That's true. I am seeing some crazy swings too in other cryptos I've never heard of.
Cryptos are always crazy swings. When are they not crazy swings?
One that, here called Crypterium.
Bitcoin. This one called Bitcoin I heard of. It's got them crazy swings from about 30,000 to 50,000 in just a matter of days.
Yeah, well, this Crypterium, whatever the hell this is, within the last week went from 14 cents up to $1.02, which it's
just talking about that is going to get us hit with an FCC complaint.
Probably. We do not give financial or crypto advice. We do not believe crypto is actually currency.
Yeah, crypto is Beanie Babies. Just remember that.
But I like Beanie Babies. They were cute.
Mm-hmm.
Just little fluffy critters. Something to snuggle with late at night. Up in Scandinavia. I bet you Cold Acid has Beanie Babies.
Just laying that on Scandinavia, right?
No, just Cold Acid.
Oh, just Cold Acid. Okay.
We love Cold Acid.
Now, why is Cold Acid called Cold Acid? Is that because he's cold up there in Scandinavia?
I think so. Mm-hmm. Because it's the coldest of acids.
Or does he do the acid while he's cold?
I think I think you do the acid and then when you're cold and then become colder. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if citric acid if it makes you cold or hot. I can't recall.
I don't know. These are questions that'll have to be answered at another point. But people should listen to Sir Gene now that you have, well, not you personally, but Sir Gene speaks because a dude named Ben has been providing some valuable content.
Yeah, people like him. He's gotten good comments. People don't really say much about me, but they definitely like him on that show.
It's like by comparison to you. See, this is how you pick co-hosts when it comes to podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very smart guy because he picked you.
He is a smart guy.
And right now, everybody thinks you're an awful red menace. So, of course, if they listen to the show, they're like, screw Gene, but I like this other guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm getting that wave, too, right here.
This guy sounds like he's an American, not some kind of Putin water carrier.
Yeah, we like that here in America.
Merca.
Russians.
Exactly.
Can't trust them.